Hello my fellow children of the night, the Dark Leandra here again. So in this video I would just like to make a review of East of Eden by John Steinbeck that I recently read and think that it definitely deserves its own video. Although I must admit that I was actually quite disappointed in this book overall. It didn't quite live up to the hype there was. Which I think is a real shame because it sounds exactly like the kind of story that I love. A big family saga that spawns several generations, difficult sibling relationships, good versus evil, love, and all that kind of stuff. But for some reason, with East of Eden, it just didn't do anything to me. I guess my hopes were too high for it. I had too many expectations for it that I couldn't obviously live up to. But but that's not to say that I didn't like the book or that I don't appreciate it, because I definitely do. But I don't love it as fanatically as other people seem to. So basically, East of Eden follows the lives of two families, the Hamiltons and the Trusks, from the 1860s to the 1920s or 30s. I'm not sure when exactly. The Hamiltons are loosely based upon Steinbeck's own family, and they're not really the most important family. They're more in the sidelines, they're more there to guide the Trusks, who are at the center of the novel. Now, everyone knows East of Eden because of its Cain and Abel biblical references to it, which is what the Trask family embody. So basically, with the Trask family, we start out with Cyrus and his two sons, Charles and Adam. Now, for some reason, Cyrus prefers Adam. He obviously favors him more than he does no. Cyrus prefers Adam, which bothers Charles a lot. And this is where you first see the whole Cain and Abel thing reenacted. So, Charles and Adam grow up fighting a lot with each other. At least Charles does. He fights a lot with Adam. He kind of beats him up at times. So they do have a very difficult relationship. There's also the theme of original sin, which we can see with Cyrus, because later on we find out that he earned his inheritance, his fortune through how can I put it, unconventional kind of ways. At least he kind of played dirty to get the money, so to speak. So this actually really bothers Charles, but Adam doesn't really care about it. And this actually comes back to haunt him later on in the story. There's also a moment where Charles is taking care of the farm, and he hurts himself, and he has a bruise on his forehead after a kind of scar, which just plays more into the Cain and Abel thing, Cain and Abel myth. So basically, later on, Adam meets Kathy, and they get married, and they have two sons. Now, Kathy is one of the big characters in the story. She's a character that everyone seems to love for some reason. She's one of the reasons I did not like the book, to be perfectly honest. I find her very, it's, well, not exactly unrealistic, because there are people like her in real life, but the thing is, we never really understand why she acts the way she does, and her motives are, I mean, we follow her point of view, but we don't really understand why she acts the way she does or why she feels the way she does. And actually, the way Steinbeck introduces her, he describes her as this kind of, he says that if she'd been alive 400 years before, she would have been burnt at the stake as a witch. He describes her as the kind of person that's possessed by a demon. So it's not very, it all seems very hyperbolic to me, a little too much in my opinion, and I could not relate to her. I couldn't understand Kathy. I know a lot of people rave and love her. I personally don't get her. Now, once she abandons Adam and their two sons, Adam moves to the Salinas Valleys, where he meets the Hamiltons. And he becomes very friendly with Samuel Hamilton, who is at the head of the family, and Lee, who is the Chinaman, who later on becomes his servant. Now, I really like both those characters, both Samuel and Lee. They're both very wise, they're very smart, very insightful, they're both very good. Uh, they're kind of this contrast to Kathy. Kathy, who is pure evil. So yeah, I really like both Lee and Samuel quite a bit. Now, Lee is actually the one who discovers that the way Tim Shaw, he's the one who discovers, he's the one who reads the Bible a lot. He's very well versed from that point of view, and he discovers that the word Tim Shaw doesn't actually mean what other people think it means. I mean, most people have interpreted it as meaning, as God saying, "Thou shalt," which is an order, but Lee thinks that it actually means "thou mayest," which basically gives people free will, basically gives people a choice, which is one of the big themes of the book actually, and which is something that Lee refers to a lot. It doesn't matter where you come from, who your parents were, that doesn't mean anything. You still make your own choices, you still get to live your own life. And now this is a particularly big deal for one of Adam's son, Caleb. Oh yeah, by the way, Adam's son are called, he has two sons, they're called Caleb and Aaron, which again plays into the whole Cain and Abel thing. You have certain characters who have C names, others who have names beginning with A. So, of his two sons, I did actually prefer Caleb the most because he was actually the most complex one. I found him to be a lot more real than Aaron, basically. Aaron just annoyed me at some point. I mean, when he was a kid, I did actually like him, but as he grew older, no, I didn't. Something wasn't working anymore. So yeah, overall, I think this is a pretty important, well, not important book. This is actually a good book. It is well written. It's easy to follow and easy to understand. I mean, the writing style is very clear. The chapters are short. They're not long at all. And it's kind of, the action is kind of quick. I mean, you're kind of gripped to the story. You really want to know what happens next. So it's not difficult to read at all, which is one of the reasons I would recommend it to everyone. It's just one of those fundamental stories about good versus evil and how love is really important and how disastrous the consequences can be if you're denied of love. I mean, we see it with Cyrus, Adam, and Charles. Cyrus prefers Adam, and Charles feels very neglected. It's actually quite funny because Adam doesn't love his father the same way Charles does. Sorry, I'm having trouble with their names actually. I don't know why, but I kind of am. Adam doesn't love his father the same way Charles does, which I guess kind of makes sense because growing up, Cyrus really was a lot harder. He was a lot harsher with Adam than he was with Charles. So I guess that Adam does have some reason to not really like his father. But there's the kind of same thing is reenacted with his sons. He doesn't like Caleb as much as he likes Aaron. So yes, very fundamental story about good versus evil, love, free will. So like I said before, it kind of frustrates me because it sounds like exactly the kind of thing I should like. And this is actually a problem I have with Steinbeck in general. Like The Grapes of Wrath, I didn't particularly like that story, but I do find it to actually be quite superior to East of Eden. Now, I know Steinbeck preferred East of Eden. He considered it to be his book, so to speak, his work. But I find The Grapes of Wrath to be superior to East of Eden. Especially the ending. The ending of The Grapes of Wrath is incredibly well written. It's really amazing. East of Eden was a book that I should have loved in theory, but it didn't quite live up to the hype for some reason. Katya was one of the reasons I really don't like the book. But otherwise, I don't really know why. I'm thinking that maybe I should reread the book to appreciate it more. I also tried at the beginning of the month to read Canary Row, also by Steinbeck, which I thought that I would like because of all the Arthurian references, but I couldn't get through that book. Uh, I don't think I like books that are exclusively funny, that are mostly have humor in them and nothing else. That kind of book tends to bore me quite a bit. Um, there's also Of Mice and Men that I would like to read, but I saw the movie when I was 17 years old, and I found the ending so incredibly sad, so very tragic, and that's why I do not want to read the novella. I think I will eventually because it is short, but right now, no. So yeah, I have trouble with Steinbeck from that point of view. So, um, yeah, anyway, that's it. That's my review for East of Eden. I would like to apologize if this was kind of rambling, to be honest. Kind of rambling. And yeah, so let me know in the comments down below if you've read this book and what you thought of it. If you've read anything else by Steinbeck and what you thought of it. And if there are authors that you struggle with, authors who in theory you should like, but who don't quite make it for some reason or the other. And I will see you next time for another video, guys. Bye!